Welcome to Conversations Live. For more than a decade, we've brought you the best in books, entertainment, celebrity interviews, and current events. When the movers and shakers of the world have something to say to you, they say it to us first. Here's your host, Cyrus Webb.
Welcome back, everyone, to Conversations Live. I'm your host, Cyrus Webb. Glad you all could join us once again. But for a radio audience tuning in here in Mississippi at WYAD 94.1 FM and WYADonline.com, we're glad that you all can be with us. Also tuning in to our friends at iHeartRadio and Amazon Music Podcast. We're glad you all could be with us as well. Well, here on the radio side, I know a lot of us love to travel to New Orleans, as people do around the world. One of the things we love so much about New Orleans is the food. In fact, a lot of people we're finding when it comes to picking their travel destinations, what they like to eat there is one of the things that they definitely keep in mind. So it's really exciting for us as we're getting ready to celebrate New Orleans Restaurant Week on June the 19th to the 25th, that we're excited to welcome our next guest to our broadcast. New Orleans chef Meg Bickford is joining us today. She's going to talk to us not only about what makes New Orleans so popular, but also what you guys can expect when it comes to the food, the history there, and of course let you guys know where to go for more information. Chef Meg, thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Cyrus. Thank you so much for having me.
Hey, glad to do it. I make it to New Orleans at least 3 or 4 times a year, and definitely the food is one of the reasons why, Meg, I love being able to be in the city. But talk to us about, as someone who stays on the ground there, what has it been like for you to see the way that people do flock to New Orleans, especially for the food?
Well, we have millions of visitors that come to New Orleans every year. And New Orleans has perhaps one of the most distinctively recognized cuisines in the world. It's one of the only indigenous cuisines in the U.S., and we are just so fortunate to have such a bountiful region, world-class seafood, game, produce. Our cuisine is rooted by 3 centuries of history and culture. I mean, you think about that, that's incredible. And it's still ever evolving. New Orleans food scene is vibrant and colorful. I like to say that it's just like its people. It's loud and it's proud. And nothing brings us more joy than to celebrate that with our visitors.
Yeah. And being here in the South, Chef Meg, I know that New Orleans has definitely had its share of disasters. But one thing we always see on the news is people coming together and definitely them being able to share food with one another. Why does New Orleans cherish the food with such passion there?
Well, we've all been through our things, I know you guys in Jackson, Mississippi have dealt with your own.
Yeah.
But, in New Orleans, we just have a certain joie de vivre, and we love to celebrate and honor what we have and celebrate what makes us different. And, the city has been through so many rebirths. And right now in the food scene in New Orleans, I think it's such an incredible time. And I feel like we are upon the verge of one of those rebirths, and the city comes together and we celebrate and we embrace, again, our differences and celebrate those. And I think that's one thing that makes New Orleans just so unique.
So true. Chef, you bring up a really good point. But a lot of times when we think about New Orleans, one of the things that comes to mind, especially when it comes to the food, is the French Quarter, right? But talk to us about some of the neighborhood restaurants and what it's been like for them to be able to share, their history and family recipes as well.
Well, Commander's Palace is just a little neighborhood joint nestled in the Lower Garden District of New Orleans. So we are, outside of downtown. We're outside of the French Quarter. The Garden District is by far one of my favorite neighborhoods in New Orleans. And we just turned 130 years old.
Wow.
There is tons of great older establishments in New Orleans, home to some of the oldest restaurants in the world. Galatoire's, Clancy's, Dookie Chase, Brennan's, really iconic and world-renowned family restaurants. Some of those aging up to 175 years. So really incredible and something to be very proud of. But what I think some of the best parts of that is that so many young chefs in the city have spent time in those restaurants and those establishments and learned so much. And those are the ones that are moving on to create great successes with their own restaurants, and so it's again that rebirth and that evolution of cuisine that's constantly happening here. So we've got more restaurants per capita than most cities in the U.S. So I challenge you to not find a restaurant on almost every corner. So no matter what neighborhood you're in New Orleans, you are going to eat well.
Love that. The last thing I want to ask you about, Chef, and I appreciate this time. You mentioned, of course, the young chefs there in New Orleans. Looking at what the talent that's coming up, what do you see as the future of New Orleans restaurants?
Oh, I think the future of New Orleans restaurants is so bright. What's happening in the city right now in the food scene is really, really exciting. And I think it's something that will change our city forever, you know. We have had so many evolutions and, you know, the city is just really this interesting melting pot of people and the incredible influences that have changed our food scene and changed our culture and influenced our art and our music. We just welcome all of that with open arms, which is what keeps New Orleans so exciting and so great. And so I think a lot of those, you know, young chefs that are coming up are going to carry this city forward, and it's just incredibly exciting to be a part of that major push in cuisine. And some of my favorite restaurants in the city include some places that are, you know, finding the connections between different cultures, like Creole and Senegalese cuisine, or the cuisine of Louisiana, the South, and then further south of that, or Southeast Asian meets Southeast Louisiana. There's just a lot of exciting things going on in this city.
We're excited for you guys, Chef, and we really appreciate this time today. Again, everyone, New Orleans Chef Meg Bickford has been our guest. Talk with us ahead of New Orleans Restaurant Week coming up June the 19th through the 25th. Chef Meg, where can our audience go for more information?
Absolutely. Please visit neworleans.com. Find out everything that's going on in the city. Restaurant Week is next week. We are so excited. We've got brilliant menus written here at Commander's for all meal periods, but there's over 100 restaurants in the city that are celebrating. Some of the big name restaurants are participating in this special celebration in which guests can enjoy some of the most famous New Orleans dishes and a lot of new stuff. A lot at a prefixed price. Really, really great deals there. It's a citywide promotion designed to lure diners, both locals and visiting. So we would love to see you guys from Jackson. I know you're not too far of a drive, and I'm very excited. I'm glad to hear that you love to visit New Orleans. I myself will be in Jackson, Mississippi in August. I'm excited to cook with Chef Hunter at Elvie's. So really excited to see you guys in Jackson, but love to see you here in New Orleans before then.
All right, Chef. Thank you again for the time. Really appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much.
More than welcome. And we thank your audience for tuning in to another great segment of Conversations Live. Until next time, I'm your host, Cyrus Webb, saying as always, enjoy your day, enjoy your life, enjoy your world. Thank you all for choosing Conversations Live. Then let's go make today amazing. Take care.